part of this one Africa government idea. And the source we're looking at claims this isn't just some future plan. It's supposedly already happening.
Yeah, the source material is described as deep intel leaked to Southern Africa breaking news. It's a YouTube source detailing accounts from what it calls trusted AU insiders and even embedded tech operators. So our mission here is to really unpack the details of this alleged blueprint, try to understand the vision behind it, which is incredibly ambitious, and look at the reactions both within Africa and, you know, globally.
And the big question hovering over all this is, how could a unified African army, genuinely under African control, focused on protecting African lives, how could that fundamentally reshape the continent and its place in the world? Okay, let's unpack this. What really grabbed me right away is where this whole thing supposedly started. The sources claim it kicked off with a secret meeting. Yesterday, they say, in Pretoria. Not on any public calendar, no media invited, just apparently 12 of Africa's most powerful military figures from all over the continent gathered during an AU security ministers meeting, but off the book.
Exactly. And the source cites someone they call Protocol Black, an embedded tech operator. This person apparently noted the meeting was listed almost deceptively as a strategic continental consultation. But the confidential files supposedly revealed the real deal. The Pan-African Security Integration Blueprint 2025 to 2045. And the goal? To create something Africa's never really had. One army, one mission,
one command. That's quite a statement.
It really is, and it raises this fundamental question, you know? What does it actually mean for a continent to define its own defense, its own security, after centuries of, well, external influence dictating things. It feels like a move towards real
So this isn't just talk.
self-determination.
The source claims there's a precise plan, a military architecture designed with precision, love, and continental pride. That's quite the description. Let's walk through this proposed structure. What does this One Africa army actually look like on paper?
It's surprisingly detailed. Okay, first up, they propose a Continental Defense Leadership Council, the CDLC. This would apparently have 5 rotating generals, one from each of Africa's 5 regions, plus, importantly, 1 civilian oversight head who'd be elected by the AU Parliament, and 2 chiefs focusing on strategy.
So a mix of military and civilian leadership right at the top.
Precisely. And their mission is stated as plan, deploy, and decide together. Critically, every single mission would need
Pan-African approval. That sounds good for unity, but does it also risk slowing things down in a crisis? How do they balance that consensus with the need for, rapid response sometimes?
That's the inherent tension, isn't it? The source suggests it's a deliberate choice, prioritizing political buy-in and making sure all regions feel represented, maybe even over sheer speed. The idea seems to be building trust and legitimacy from the start, avoiding the pitfalls of, say, 1 or 2 powerful nations dominating everything. It's about long-term stability.
Okay, what else is in the blueprint?
Right. Then you have the 5 continental regional commands, the CRCs, These are described as the shields of the continent. And they even list specific locations: North Command in Cairo, West in Accra, Central in Kinshasa, East in Nairobi, and Southern Command
decentralized
right there in
operational hubs.
Exactly. Each one responsible for training, mobilizing troops, and responding to pretty much everything in their region. From, say, disaster relief like floods to counterterrorism operations, localized response, but under that unified continental umbrella. The blueprint also includes Pan-African elite units. These are specialized forces designed for very specific threats. For instance, they mention desert lions for operations in the Sahel. Specialized counterinsurgency tactics suited for that unique
Not just
desert
generic special
environment.
forces then.
No, very tailored. Then there are forest rangers for guerrilla warfare, but also urban response with a focus noted on de-escalation, and maritime guardians for tackling piracy and protecting the oceans. The names themselves suggest a focus on Africa's
That level of
specific
specialization is, quite impressive. It shows a deep understanding of the varied threats across the continent.
It seems so. And moving on, they're definitely acknowledging the new battleground, cyber and space. There's a dedicated cyber and space division. This part talks about digital labs and software development in Nairobi, leveraging Kenya's tech hub status, presumably. AI and robotics research based in Tunis. Satellite operations out of Algiers, and drone command coordinated from Addis
Truly
Ababa.
modern, tech-focused approach, distributed across the continent too.
Yes, it seems designed to leverage existing strengths. It's all meant to be coordinated for interagency tech sharing. Then there's education, a whole military academy network. The goal here is to raise future leaders with continental exposure. They list specific academies: Kigali and Lusaka, focusing on intel and surveillance; Abuja for engineering; Addis Ababa for doctrine and international law.
How do they ensure that?
Well, the blueprint apparently states that each officer must rotate through 3 of these different specialized academies. The idea is to break down national silos and build a genuinely Pan-African officer corps with a shared understanding and hopefully loyalty. And this next point seems critical, especially given past concerns about military power in Africa, anti-corruption, and abuse oversight. The source explicitly states, every mission gets independent review by African civilians, lawyers, human rights defenders.
Okay. Independent review by civilians and human rights defenders. That sounds robust on paper. But the crucial question is always enforcement, right? How do they ensure the review has real teeth and isn't just a rubber stamp, especially when powerful military interests are involved?
That's the perennial challenge. The source implies this isn't just an after-the-fact review. Phrasing suggests these civilian human rights elements might be embedded somehow within the mission oversight structures, providing real-time or near real-time checks. It seems aimed at deterrence, making accountability part of the process, not just a potential consequence later. It's a proactive approach.
A proactive approach to transparency. Interesting.
And related to preventing power grabs, there's the rotational command principle. The blueprint says All major leadership roles rotate every 2 years across regions. This shows they're clearly thinking about the historical risk of military leaders becoming entrenched. It's an institutional safeguard baked right in. Definitely. And then there's this element which I found particularly fascinating. A border diplomacy and de-escalation force. This isn't primarily a fighting unit. Its focus is negotiation. The source quotes someone named General Umoja saying, "Not every fight needs a bullet. This special unit negotiates peace before
diplomacy
it gets
force within the army structure. That's unusual."
It is. General Umoja is further quoted, "Africa's future doesn't need more heroes with guns. It needs protectors with vision." It's just a really different philosophy. Maybe a recognition that so many conflicts have roots that military force alone
So less
can't
about
fix.
projecting force, more about maybe proactive stability building. Diplomacy first, backed by the potential for force if needed, but not leading with it.
Exactly. It signals a potential strategic shift. Moving beyond purely kinetic
if we pull back and look
responses.
at the big picture, all these structures, these principles, what's the driving force? The source says it's not about starting wars. It's about never being bullied again. What does that mean in context?
Well, think about the history. Foreign military bases on African soil for decades. Conflicts dragging on unresolved. Terror groups destabilizing entire regions, sometimes with, neighbors feeling powerless or hesitant to intervene directly. There's a quote in the source from Mama Panana, described as an AU senior diplomat. She apparently said, "The one Africa Africa government means nothing if we can't protect our people. This army is not to intimidate.
Liberate
It's
from
liberate.
what exactly?
Liberate from that feeling of helplessness, perhaps, from external interference dictating security outcomes, from internal threats that cross borders. It speaks to this deep-seated frustration and a rising desire for, well, genuine sovereignty and the ability to handle African problems with African solutions. It's Africa wanting to write its own
And the source
future
claims
narrative.
this army isn't coming to conquer, but to serve. It sounds very positive, almost idealistic. An army that serves.
It does. And the source gives concrete examples of what that service might look like. Responding rapidly to floods like those seen in Mozambique. Coordinating efforts against paracels, say, in Niger, acting as a unified, legitimate force to counter unconstitutional.
So, targeted interventions based on clear continental needs or threats.
That seems to be the vision. It's presented as Africa collectively saying, as the source puts it, we will not let outsiders decide when we bleed or when we heal. It's about proactive response.
Of course, a plan this massive, this ambitious, it's not going to be met with universal applause. There must be concerns, questions. Who's watching this? And who's getting nervous?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. The reactions are apparently coming from both inside and outside the continent. Internally, the source mentions nations like Morocco, Cameroon, Equatorial Guinea expressing concerns. The worries seem to be around, the practicalities. Who ultimately controls the weapons? Will the bigger, more established military powers, Nigeria, Egypt, South Africa end up
The
dominating
who holds
the
the
whole
master
structure.
key question.
Exactly. There's a leaked note mentioned, attributed to Chairman Shadow, quoting a diplomat. We support unity, but who holds the master key? The source frames this as a fair point, but insists the plan is built on collaboration, not domination. Still, it highlights that core challenge of trust and power sharing across 50 plus
And what about
nations.
globally? How are world powers reacting according to the source?
The source paints a picture of global powers watching very closely and, feeling nervous. US AFRICOM reportedly held an emergency call right after the story broke. France is said to be reviewing its joint military operations with African nations. China and Turkey, interestingly, are described as offering silent support, but with an expectation of economic access in return. Classic
So it's already
geopolitical
causing
maneuvering. Definitely. The source poses it starkly. What does it mean when, for the first time in history, Africa isn't asking permission, it's drafting orders? It suggests a fundamental shift in power dynamics is potentially underway, challenging the status quo where external actors often set the security agenda in Africa.
Beyond the structures and the global reactions, there's a specific individual mentioned. Someone whose alleged presence at that secret Pretoria meeting adds a really intriguing layer. Captain Ibrahim Traore.
Yes, his name keeps coming up. According to the source, Traore, the leader in Burkina Faso, he was apparently at this round table, and they attribute a quote to him: "A president without an army is a slogan. A continent without protection is a playground for the world." Very
reflects that no
strong
more bullying
words.
sentiment.
Precisely. And the source notes his significant popularity, particularly among junior military officers across various countries: Mali, Tanzania, South Sudan, Angola. They apparently connect with him because he speaks their language. Action, not speeches. He seems to represent this new wave of, well, assertive, perhaps even impatient leadership that resonates with those tired of the old ways. This source even mentions whispers of him as a potential first president of a more unified Africa, or at least a continental commander in spirit.
So he's become a symbol for this movement, whether officially or unofficially.
It certainly seems that way. His alleged presence, signifies a certain energy.
And tying back to the structure, the source really hammers home this point. The future battlefield is no longer land, it's code. How does the blueprint translate that into practical capabilities?
Well, as we touched on with the Cyber and Space Division, it's about deep integration of technology. The plan apparently envisions using drones developed and built by African engineers, implementing AI-powered systems for border security. There are even plans mentioned for satellite launches based in Algeria, Ethiopia, and Ghana. And these coordinated cyber defense teams operating out of hubs like Lagos, Nairobi,
So a serious investment in indigenous tech and digital defense. Not just buying off-the-shelf solutions from elsewhere.
That seems to be the emphasis. Building continental capacity in these critical future domains.
Well, let's circle back to that crucial concern. Military power, potentially leading to authoritarianism. It's a fear grounded in history across the continent. Africans have seen military leaders take power and then will never leave. How does this blueprint tackle that specific risk head on?
Yeah, it's probably the biggest internal hurdle, right? Building trust that this new power structure won't become oppressive. The source stresses that the blueprint has specific safeguards built in. We mentioned the rotational command and term limits for generals, but also the embedding of civilians in mission oversight. And these review audits by a continental ethics board. The stated goal, very explicitly, according to the source, is not building another dictatorship.
Discipline.
We're building
not dictatorship.
discipline. Exactly. It shows a clear awareness of the danger and, at least on paper, a structured attempt to prevent it. They seem to be trying to create institutional checks and balances from the outside.
The source does something interesting towards the end. It speaks directly to the listener, to, the ordinary African watching this unfold. It says, you are not just a citizen. You are part of something bigger. What's the deeper message there?
I think it's about connecting this high-level strategic plan to the everyday lives and aspirations of people across the continent. This isn't just about generals and geopolitics, the source argues. This envisioned army, it means potential jobs in logistics, engineering, tech support for, your cousins or neighbors. It means contracts potentially going to African tech companies, boosting local economies. On a more fundamental level, it means the promise of protection when disaster strikes, like floods or storms. It offers hope when conflict flares up nearby, that there's a capable force ready to respond.
Fact.
Yeah. Exactly, and perhaps most importantly, the source suggests, it means earning respect on the world stage. It quotes General Umoja again. Africa's army is not coming to intimidate. It's coming to inspire, to shield farmers, to protect mothers, to give children a future. So it's linking this military project directly to human security, dignity, and the future prospects of ordinary people. A profound shift in self-perception and maybe, just maybe,
So wrapping up this
standing.
deep dive, the source really paints a picture of an incredibly ambitious, almost revolutionary vision. And it ends with this powerful declaration.
Yeah, Tisuvanu Vacho and now Tisumagosha, which apparently translates to something like, we are the people and now we are the power. It frames this whole alleged movement as the culmination of a long struggle. After centuries of being, as the source puts it, exploited, divided, ridiculed, dismissed. The dream now is for Africa to finally be respected.
We
to
are
have
the power.
agency.
It's a potent message. Yeah.
It really is. And this whole alleged blueprint with all its intricate details, its built-in safeguards, it leaves us with a huge question, doesn't it? If this vision, or even something like it, actually becomes reality, what new possibilities does that open up for African security, for African sovereignty, and maybe just as importantly, how does that fundamentally redefine the continent's relationship with the rest of the world?
As you've been listening to this, what's the one thing that really stands out to you about this alleged move towards a united African defense? Something to ponder.
So you made up your mind. You want to start a poultry farm, but you're not certain which one to go with. one will suit you well. That's what I'm going to talk about. So please stick around, and then I'm going to tell you why I chose layers, why I went layers and not broilers. Welcome back to the channel. My name is Daniel. I'm very passionate about poultry farming. If you're new to the channel, I talk about poultry farming in all the different ways, so that I get to teach you and help you make money from poultry farming. And then if you've come back and you're already a subscriber, welcome back. So if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please subscribe so that you don't miss anything. Hit that notification bell, because what's the purpose of subscribing if you're going to miss everything? So hit that notification bell, and don't forget to like this video and comment.
Welcome back to another deep dive.
Great to be here.
but then you don't know what they should do. Broilers, you should do layers, and then there are the other things, the local chickens, and the mixed breeds, the Kenya, the improved Kenya cheese, the broilers, the broilers, depending on which country you're in, it can get quite complex. In this video in particular, I'm going to talk about the layers and the broilers, because we all know there's not a lot of information out there. So I'm here to help you decide. Choose which one should you go with. So there are a number of factors involved, and this includes things like how much time you have, how much money do you have, are you good at risk taking? If you weigh all these things, they will determine which one are you more likely to go with. First things first, what are broilers and what are layers? We shall start with broilers. Well, broilers are birds or chickens that are bred for meat production. These things have extraordinary genes. In 6 weeks, you had me right. 6 weeks, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You will be able to sell the chick. In 6 weeks, the thing will get more than 2 kilograms, 2.5 kilograms, or even more than that. In just 6 weeks, if you feed them well. So they have extraordinary genes. They have special feeds that a ensure that in such a short time they'll be ready for the market. So when you bring the birds in just 6 weeks, you'll be selling them off. Broilers gain weight so quickly in that in just over 6 weeks they will have
That one. He gets right into, why he decided on layers for his own farm. It's a pretty fundamental choice for anyone thinking about poultry.
It really is. And our goal today, I think, is to kind of unpack the factors he lays out in that video.
Right. Not just summarize, but really get into the weeds on the trade-offs, the numbers.
Yeah, based just on what he presents in the source. So if you're considering this, you can see how those points might apply to your own situation.
Perfect. So let's start simple. Based on the source, what are broilers and layers? What's the core difference?
Okay, so Daniel starts with broilers, and he emphasizes they're genetically engineered, basically, for meat.
Okay.
He says they have these extraordinary genes specifically for growth, like super fast growth.
How fast do we talk?
We're talking market ready in just 6 weeks. Pretty wild.
6 weeks. Wow.
Yeah. And if you give them the special feeds they need, If you go past 10 weeks, their bodies start breaking down, health issues. It's just too much weight.
Got it. So they're really designed for that short, intense cycle, like sprinters.
Exactly. Not marathon runners.
So how do layers stack up against that?
Layers are, well, a whole different ballgame. They're extraordinary genes, as Daniel puts it, are all focused on laying eggs.
Right.
They're actually smaller birds, lighter, usually around, say, 1.5 to 1.8 kilos. Very few hit 2 kilos.
And they need special feed too.
They do, yeah. Very special, he calls it. But it's formulated for egg production, not rapid growth.
Okay, and how productive are they? How often do they lay?
Daniel says it's almost every 26 hours.
Wow. Nearly an egg a day.
Pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
And the big difference from broilers is the duration. They can keep this up for a long time. The source says over a year, maybe closer to 2 years, actually.
Okay, so a steady stream of product over a much longer period.
Exactly.
Alright, so that paints the basic picture. Purpose, timeline. Now let's get into the factors. Daniel says you really need to weigh. He starts with marking, right? What's the challenge with broilers there?
because of that super short timeline.
It's 6 weeks.
Right. Your market has to be lined up and ready to go by week 6. Has to be.
Why the urgency?
Well, because every single day you keep them past that point, you're just paying for more feed. Right? But the buyers,
Yeah.
they're not gonna pay you more.
Diminishing returns. Fast.
Totally. Daniel's ideal scenario. You have your buyers confirmed the day your chicks arrive. Day 1.
That sounds intense. What if your buyer falls through? Or you can't sell them all at 6 weeks?
Good question. He does mention an option. Slaughtering them at 6 weeks and refrigerating the meat to sell later. But, you know, he admits not everyone has the setup for that.
Right. Requires freezers, space.
Exactly. And he really stresses needing a backup plan. An option B market. He even mentions, like, the lockdown crisis as an example of how quickly your main buyer can disappear. So if that market isn't rock solid and timed perfectly, the risk is pretty high.
That tight window sounds like a lot to manage. Layers must be different then. Marketing wise.
Oh yeah. Much not forced into a quick sale. If the price is low this week, you can hold on to the eggs. Wait for a better price next week, maybe. Yeah, breathing worm.
That flexibility sounds like a major advantage. Are there, any downsides to marketing eggs that he points out?
Main one he mentions. Why you have flexibility, and when you sell, the price you get is often fixed locally, like a set price per egg, no matter the size.
Oh, really? So jumbo egg gets the same price as the small
in many local markets, that's what he suggests. So it kind of limits your ability to get paid more for, say, producing bigger, better eggs.
Interesting. So, high pressure versus flexibility, but maybe a capped price. Okay, let's pivot to getting started. The money up front.
Daniel is super clear on this one. Broilers are way cheaper to start. Way cheaper.
Okay.
You need the
Why is that?
basics. You know, a structure, water, feeders, drinkers, the feed itself, vaccines, maybe some heating, light, standard stuff. But crucially, because you only have them for 6 weeks,
You need much less feed overall.
less feed bought up front. It makes the initial barrier to entry quite a bit
much higher
they need everything the broilers need, infrastructure-wise. But you need more of it because you're keeping them for potentially 2 years, not 6 weeks. And the really big hit, the one Daniel highlights, is that you have to feed and care for them for 18 to 21 weeks.
That's like
Before they lay their first egg, before you see a single cent of income.
wow. So you're just spending.
Pretty much. Pouring money into feed, vaccines, maybe drugs, all that time. And he mentions other specific costs too, like needing perches for them to roost on, and the cost of debeaking. Yeah, trimming their beaks. It's often done to stop them from pecking and injuring each other, especially in larger flocks. That's another cost. And Daniel also points out that to make what he calls sensible money with layers, you generally need bigger numbers from the start, like maybe 200, 500 birds, or even more. Whereas with broilers, you could potentially start with just say 20 or 50 and still make your money back relatively quickly.
That difference in scale and upfront cash needed is huge. Okay,
It's bad,
Bad.
but Daniel says you can recover fairly quickly. You clear out, clean up, start a new batch, and you could be back on track within maybe 2 months. He actually calls mistakes with broilers forgiving because of that quick cycle.
Forgiving. Okay. Which implies layers are
Much less
less
higher risk. Significantly higher. Because you're keeping them for 1, maybe almost 2 years.
more time, more chances
Precisely.
for things to go
Higher
wrong.
chance of getting sick, dealing with more complex diseases over their lifespan. He gives a really stark example. Newcastle disease. He describes it as a viral disease, no cure, and they can have like 95 to 100% mortality in a flock.
Oh my gosh. 100%. That's
And Daniel
catastrophic.
explains why a major loss like that is so much worse with layers. If you lose, say, 70% of your layer flock halfway through their cycle, think about all the money you've already sunk into them.
Right. All the feed for months before they lay, plus the feed while they were laying.
Recovering that investment, even with the birds that survived, could take almost 2 whole years, according to his calculations. The financial hit is just devastating. So, his conclusion: The risk of a massive crippling loss is way higher with layers. Broilers are safer if you're not a big risk taker.
That recovery time really puts it in perspective. Okay, what about
Another
the
clear
skill level
contrast.
needed?
Broilers need way less skill, especially for a beginner, someone he calls naive. Seems like
Easier learning.
the short cycles mean you learn in a measurable way, batch by batch. Fewer complex vaccinations, fewer potential long-term health issues to manage day to day, gives you more breathing room to figure out the basics, including the market side. Sort of, yeah.
Farming 101.
Layers, on the other hand, demand way more skill.
Because of the long duration and risk.
Through multiple life stages, dealing with more potential diseases, more vaccinations. Daniel says mistakes are punished very heavily. Yeah, because you
Financially
so much time and money already. A mistake that causes losses is a much bigger setback. He even suggests you might need to hire people with more expertise if you go the layer route, especially starting out.
let's talk payoff. Long term. Which one actually makes more money?
His view is that over the long haul, layers are way more profitable. Two main reasons, yes. First, eggs generally fetch a higher profit margin per unit compared to broiler meat. Second, at the end of the project, after maybe 2 years, you can still sell the old layers for meat.
Oh, right. So, egg income plus end of life meat
Adds
sales.
another revenue stream. So the total potential profit packed into that longer cycle is higher.
So layers for the bigger overall pot of gold eventually. What about broilers for long-term
Broilers,
revenue?
the profit is quick. You get your money back in 6 weeks. So you can reinvest, scale up faster maybe. But to make really big long-term money, Daniel implies you need scale, large numbers, and constant, ideally overwhelming demand.
The kind
The kind where you
requires
could maybe charge a bit more because demand outstrips your supply. That's where he sees abnormal profits potentially happening with broilers. But then you're back to managing large volumes, the refrigeration challenge, the risk of big buyers pulling out.
so different paths to profit. Quick cycles with broilers, needing scale for big, long-term returns versus the slower, longer game with layers for potentially higher.
That's a good way to sum it up based on his points. Quick cash flow versus patient persistence for potentially more money overall.
It really does highlight the different business models involved. Okay, one last factor he covers. Availability. Your time. How much do you need to be
He suggests require less of your constant availability because it's such a short, intense period. 6 weeks. He suggests you could maybe even manage it around another job, perhaps taking a month's leave and getting some help for the final couple of weeks near sale time. The commitment is concentrated.
So potentially easier if you have other things.
Layers, conversely, need you to be more available. Much more. Yeah. Daniel advises being on the farm as often as possible, which ties back to everything else we discussed, right? The higher risks, longer time frame, to greater complexity.
Means you need to be there to spot problems.
The takeaway is less personal time available might point you towards broilers.
Okay, so he lays out all these dimensions. Market pressure, cost, risk, skill, profit, timing, availability. A really comprehensive comparison. And then in the source, Daniel reveals his choice.
Yeah.
Why did he end up going with Lair?
He says basically his main goal was to make more money in the long run. And crucially, he describes himself as a very big risk taker.
So his personality matched the higher risk, higher potential reward.
Exactly.
Profile.
He was willing to put up a higher initial investment and gamble on avoiding those big potential losses because the potential long-term financial upside appealed to him more.
And he acknowledges
Oh,
it's
absolutely.
not for everyone.
He's careful to say that
Yeah.
broilers could definitely be more profitable for other people depending on their specific situation, their market access, how well they manage that system. It wasn't a judgment, just his calculation based on his goals and risk tolerance.
It sounds like he's saying, here are the facts as I see them. Now you figure out
Exactly the
where
message that comes through. His breakdown isn't a prescription. It's more like a diagnostic tool. You, the listener, need to hold up these factors: money, time, risk appetite, skill,
and decide which calm broiler or layer aligns
Based purely on the
you.
points Daniel raised in the source. There's no single best choice. Only the choice that's a better fit for the individual farmer.
Well, this deep dive has certainly unpacked those core decision points from Daniel's video. That contrast between the broilers' intense market window and the layers
difference in
sort
startup cash needed.
plus these starkly different risk profiles that forgiving nature of broilers versus the potential
Don't forget the skill
knockout
demands, the profit timing, quick hits versus the long game, and just how much time you need to physically be there. For sure. And
It's
as
a lot
Daniel makes
to
clear
weigh.
in the source, it really boils down to matching the bird's demands to your own resources. And your personality, really.
What really jumps out listening back to Daniel's points is how much emphasis he puts on planning ahead for risk. You know, whether it's locking down that broiler market or having row